Episode 1: The Beginning of Paid Content. I'm Dokcha. That's how I introduce myself to other people. Dokcha being an unusual name and a homonym that can mean only child or reader, they often misunderstand. Ah, so you're an only child, huh? I am, but that's not what I meant. Huh? Then that's my name. Dokcha Kim. Dokcha Kim. My father named me that, hoping I'd be strong even when alone. But his wish must have only partially come true, because I ended up just alone. Here's the gist of it. Dokcha Kim, 28 years old, single. Hobby? Reading web novels on the way home from work. You'll fall into your phone if you stare at it so hard. A friendly voice cut through the noise of the subway car. I looked up to see a pair of curious eyes staring down at me. It was Sangha Yu from HR. Oh, good afternoon. Are you headed home? Yes. And you, Sangha? Yep, got lucky today. My manager's on a trip. The person next to me got off, and Sangha plopped down on the empty seat. A gentle scent wafted from her as our shoulders touched, and despite myself, I tensed up a bit. Do you usually take the subway? Oh, about that. Sangha's expression darkened. I realized this was the first time I'd run into her on the subway. Makes sense. After all, it was no secret that from Mr. Kong in HR to Manager Han in finance, there was a whole line of men eager to give her a ride home. But I wasn't expecting what she said next. Someone stole my bike. Bike? You ride a bike to work? Yep. I've been working late these days, so I need the exercise, and let's just say it's one less thing to worry about. I see. Sangha smiled. Seeing her up close, I could see why so many guys had a crush on her. Well, not that it had anything to do with me. Sangha Yu and I lived in different genres. That seemed to be the end of the awkward conversation, and we both looked at our phones. I went back to the web novel I'd been reading earlier. And Sangha, what was she looking at? ¿Puede prestarme dinero? Sorry, what? It's Spanish. I see. What does that mean? It means, can you lend me some money? Sangha answered me confidently. This woman studied on the subway. She really did live in a different genre. But what use could she have for learning Spanish anyways? You're studying hard. And what about you? What are you so focused on? Oh, I'm just... Before I could do anything, Sangha's eyes darted to my phone screen. Is that a novel? Yes, I'm studying Korean. Wow, I love novels too. It's been a while since I read one though. Don't have the time these days. That's unexpected. Sangha Yu is into this kind of stuff too? You know, like Murakami Haruki, Raymond Carver, Hong Kong. Of course. Who's your favorite author, Dokcha? I doubt you've heard of them. Hey, I've read a lot of novels, you know. Tell me, who wrote that? In moments like this, I wished I had a different hobby. I glanced at the title of the web novel on my phone. The World After the Fall, author SingNsong. There was no way I was telling her I'm reading The World After the Fall by SingNsong. It's just a fantasy novel, kind of like The Lord of the Rings. Sangha's eyes widened. Oh, The Lord of the Rings! I saw the movie. It was a good movie. There was a brief silence. Sangha was looking at me like she expected me to continue the conversation. It was getting awkward, so I decided to change the subject. Wasn't it around this time last year that we started at this company? Can't believe it's been a year already. Time flies. Right? We were so clueless back then, weren't we? Totally. Feels like it was just yesterday, but our contracts are almost up. It was only after seeing her expression that I realized I'd picked the wrong subject. Oh, actually, I'd forgotten. Sangha had been promoted to a permanent position in recognition of her role in securing a foreign contract last month. Oh, right, sorry. I didn't congratulate you earlier. Guess I should have studied another language like you. D- don't worry, Dokcha. There's still a performance evaluation. I'm sure you'll. I hated to admit it, but Sangha really was amazing. She shined like all the spotlights in the world were focused on her. If this were a work of fiction, she'd be the heroine. This was the logical outcome. I hadn't made an effort, and Sangha had. I'd read web novels and she'd studied. So naturally, she'd gotten promoted, and I was to be let go. Dokcha? Yes? If you want, I can tell you what app I used to. Sangha's voice sounded distant. I could feel myself drifting away from the moment. I tried to bring my mind back to the present by blinking hard and staring straight ahead. There was a boy seated on the other side of the subway, around 10 years old. He was sitting next to his mom and looking down at the bug cage on his lap with gloomy eyes. Dokcha? What if I'd led a different life from this one? Maybe if the genre of my life were different. Hey, Dokcha! In other words, if the genre weren't realism but rather fantasy, could I be the hero? I didn't know, and I never would, but something I did know was, that's okay, Sangha. Huh? It won't matter if you show me the foreign language app. That the genre of my life was undeniably realism. After all, Dokcha lives Doksha's life. And that I was just a reader, not the hero. Doksha's life. Sangha had a serious look on her face. I waved my hand to reassure her I really was fine. I didn't know her well, but it was clear she was genuinely worried about me. After all, she was in HR. So she would have had no illusions about my chances in the performance evaluation. What a great line! Huh? That means I should live Sangha's life. This seemed to strengthen her determination about something, and she went back to studying Spanish with redoubled focus. I stared at her for a little bit before returning to the web novel. Everything was back to normal, but for some reason my thumb felt heavy as I scrolled through the story. Perhaps it was the weight of my reality dragging it down. The cold, hard fact of life I'd been freshly reminded of. It was at that moment a notification popped up on my phone. You've received new email. The sender was the author of TWSA. I opened it right away. Dear Dokcha, TWSA will be paid content starting at 7 p.m. today. This should help. Best of luck. One attached file. Right. The author had said they'd be sending me a present. Was this it? I really must be a reader through and through, getting all excited over a single email. Yeah, I guess it's not so bad to live as a reader. I checked the time. 6:55 p.m. That meant it would be exactly 5 minutes until the novel became paid content. I opened my favorites list on the novel app. As the only reader, I felt I should leave a congratulatory comment to encourage the author. However, no results found. I typed apocalypse several times into the search bar, but the result was the same. TWSA's comment section had completely disappeared as well. That's strange. I knew it was becoming paid content, but shouldn't there have been a notice at least? Just then, the lights inside the subway went out, and the car was plunged into darkness. Screech! The subway car shook violently, and the sound of grinding metal pierced my ears. Sangha clutched my arm with a small yelp of fright. She gripped so hard that the pain drowned out the ongoing chaos. It took about 10 seconds for the emergency brakes to bring the train to a full stop. Confused voices broke out all around me. Huh? What happened? What's going on? Smartphones lit up one by one in the dark. Sangha spoke up, still firmly holding onto my arm. What was that? I tried my best to sound calm. Don't worry, I'm sure it's nothing. You think so? Yeah, I mean, What could possibly... Well, I'm sure the operator will let us know soon. As if on cue, the announcement came on. Attention all subway passengers! Attention all subway passengers! The people around us quieted down to listen. I added reassuringly, "See, it's nothing. They'll apologize about the inconvenience, and the lights will... Everyone, please evacuate. I repeat, everyone!" The announcement cut off with a loud beep, and suddenly it was chaos. Dokja, what in the world is... There was a flash of bright light in front of the car, followed by what sounded like an explosion and a ripping noise. Something was coming towards us in the dark. It was by sheer chance that I happened to glance at the clock in that moment. 7 p.m. With a loud tick, I felt as if the world had stopped, and then I heard a voice. Ding! The free trial period of Planetary System 8612 has ended. The main scenario has begun. At that moment, my life took on a different genre. "It's a goblin!" someone exclaimed when the creature appeared. I'm not sure why I suddenly remembered that sentence from TWSA. The train, dead still on the track, the sudden power outage, these alone shouldn't have been enough to make me feel deja vu. Emergency stops aren't common, but they do happen. So why was it that the all too familiar opening of the novel kept playing in my head? Surely that couldn't be. There's no way, right? That was when the front door of car 3807 suddenly opened and the lights came back on. Zanga quietly mumbled beside me. Goblin? It felt as if a siren was going off in my head, as a novel I'd read began to overlap with reality. I felt a pang of disorientation. 2 small horns. A bizarre creature covered in fuzzy hair and dressed in rags floated in midair. It looked too creepy to be a fairy, too evil to be an angel, and too innocent to be a demon. Therefore, it came to be called a goblin. And I already knew what that goblin was going to say first. At that moment, reality and fantasy converged. What is it saying? Is this some kind of augmented reality event? Despite the uneasy murmurs all around me, I felt as though I'd been thrown into another world by myself. There's no doubt about it. That's a goblin. In the 1,000 chapters of TWSA, it was often this very type of creature that heralded the next tale of tragedy and bloodshed. It was Sanga's voice that woke me up from my thoughts. That sounded like Spanish. Should I try talking to it? I felt a little silly as I asked. Do you even know what that is? Are you going to ask it to lend you money? No, but... It was then that we heard clearly pronounced Korean. Can you hear me now? Oh man, that Korean language patch was giving me so much trouble. Can everyone hear me? The sound of a familiar language seemed to have a calming effect on the people. The first person to speak up was a big man in a suit. Hey, what's all this about? Pardon? Is this some kind of film shoot? I'm gonna be late for my audition, you know. I didn't recognize him, so he must have been an aspiring actor. If I were the casting director, I'd have hired him on the spot for the energy in his voice alone. Unfortunately, the creature in front of him was not a casting director. Aha, an audition. I see. So people are busy at this time too. Guess I should have done more research. I was told that starting the paid content at 7 p.m. would get me the most people. Huh? What are you talking about? Now, please calm down, everyone. Have a seat and listen to me. I have something important to tell you. I felt a creeping sense of dread. What? Hell no! Get the train moving already! Somebody contact the subway operator! I didn't sign up for this! Do you have a permit? Mommy, what's that? A cartoon? At this point, there was no more room for doubt. This was the story I was familiar with, and I knew how this was going to play out. I had to stop them, but how? People wouldn't listen to that tiny and cute CG-looking creature. All I could do was stop Sanga, who was about to get up from her seat. Sanga, don't move. It's dangerous. What? Her eyes went wide. I blurted that out, but I had no way of explaining to her all that I knew about the current situation. Or rather, There was no need to explain it to her. You people are so noisy. After all, the creature in front of us could be very persuasive. I told you to be quiet! The goblin slowly closed its eyes, and when it opened them again, they gleamed a dangerous shade of red. There was a sound like something bursting, and the subway went silent. Huh? The aspiring actor who had been on his way to an audition had a large hole in his forehead. His lips twitched as if trying to say something, then his eyes went blank, and he fell down where he stood. This is not a film shoot! Again, there was a sound like a melon bursting open. This time it was the woman who had been whining about contacting the operator. This isn't a dream or a novel. One by one, people's heads began to explode, spraying blood into the air. They were the ones who had been complaining to the goblin, yelling or making a scene. Anyone who had made any kind of noise ended up with a hole in their head. It only took a moment for the subway car to be covered in blood. In fact, this is not reality as you knew it. You got that? Now shut up and listen to me. More than half the people in the car were now dead. The subway train that had been full of commuters riding back home was now filled with blood and gore from the dead bodies. People couldn't even scream anymore. They stared at the goblin, dumbstruck, like prehistoric apes frozen in terror at the sight of an apex predator. Sangha was hiccuping from shock next to me. I quietly squeezed her shoulder as I tried to calm my own breathing. This is real. When I'd heard the strange message, even when the goblin had appeared, a part of me had still refused to believe it. But as I looked around the blood-splattered subway car, the reality of the situation finally began to set in. You've all had quite the cozy life, haven't you? The goblin glanced at the priority seats. The elderly who were seated there trembled and lowered their heads under its gaze. As if to scoff at them, the goblin continued its speech. From the day you were born, you've had a free ride, breathing, eating, and shitting without a care in the world, breathing like flies. What a wonderful world you've lived in. A free ride? Not a single person here had such a thing. This was an evening rush hour train. Everyone in this car was struggling one way or another to make a living. However, no one was foolish enough to point this out to the goblin. Well, too bad. The good times are over. There's no such thing as free lunch, you know. If you want a happy ending, you gotta pay for it. That's just common sense, don't you agree? No one said anything. The only sound in the subway car was heavy breathing, as people desperately tried to stave off panic. At that moment, a man cautiously raised his hand. Is it money you want? I wondered who on earth could be that stupid. Surprisingly, it was a familiar face. Saga, isn't that Manager Han from Finance? You're right. There was no mistaking it. The man who had gotten his position through connections, the last person any new employer wanted to work under, Manager Myungo Han from Finance. But why was he on the subway? How much do you want? I'll pay you. Here's my business card. Handing his business card to a murderous entity, Manager Han's unbelievable feat of bravery seemed to bring some hope back into people's eyes. As you can see, money's not an issue for me. You want 1,000,000 won, too? It was a large amount for a department manager at a small company to offer so casually. I wondered if the rumor of him being the chairman's youngest son was true after all. You're offering me human currency? That's right. I don't have much cash on me right now, but if you let me go, I can pay you as much as you want. Money's nice. Plant fiber assigned value based on what humans agreed upon. Manager Han's face lit up. He'd apparently understood the goblin's remark as an affirmation of his belief that money could solve all problems. How pitiful. This is all I have for now, so why don't you... But only in your space-time. What? A ball of fire appeared out of thin air. The bills in Manager Han's hand went up in flames. He screamed in panic. Those scraps of paper don't mean anything in the greater dimensions. Try that again, and I'll blow your head off. Got it? Ugh. The brief sparks of hope in the people's eyes turned back into fear. Their thoughts were written clearly on their faces, like a cliched novel. What's going to happen to us now? I was the only one who knew exactly how this would play out. Your debt is accruing even as we stand here yammering away. Whatever, let's skip the explanation and have you try making some money on your own. The goblin's horn stretched out like antennae, and its body floated up toward the ceiling. Soon after, I heard the messages. Ding! Channel BI 7623 is open. Constellations have entered the channel. Message windows popped up above the heads of commuters who were blinking in disbelief. Ding! A main scenario has arrived. Main scenario number 1, prove your worth. Category main, difficulty F. Mission, kill 1 or more living creatures. Time limit, 30 minutes. Reward, 300 coins. Penalty for failure, death. The goblin's body grew transparent, and it smiled as it faded through the wall into the next subway car. Well then, good luck everyone. Please show me a fun story.